Selected 1. Stop and listen with an open heart. You've been asking yourself, why am I always so tired? Why does my body ache when I've done nothing unusual? The truth is this: you are carrying more than what anyone can see. The crown on your life is real, and crowns are heavy. They require strength, balance, and endurance. That is why you feel the unshakable weight pressing on you. But hear me, exhaustion is not weakness. It is proof that heaven has entrusted you with responsibility. Every step you take is not only for yourself, but for generations after you. You carry the prayers of those who came before and the promises of those who will follow. That kind of calling produces a weariness the average soul could never understand. Think of a bridge. Its pillars quietly hold the weight of thousands crossing, unseen and uncelebrated. That bridge is you. People will walk from darkness to light, from despair to hope, and your soul will carry them safely. The bridge doesn't complain. It just holds. That's why you collapse and sleep some nights without realizing why. Your spirit has been carrying more than your body can explain. Even Elon Musk, in his own way, has lived this story. The constant push, the hidden battles, the ridicule, and the weight of expectation, it was never about him alone. It was about building bridges into the future for countless others to cross. When his job came, he felt as if he had been depleted in truth preparation. He discovered that fatigue had already served as his instructor, giving him the endurance to bear it. The same is true for you. You're not weak. They're secretly strengthening you. Your sense of pressure is evidence of fate. In chapter 68, verse 19, the Bible makes a declaration. We give thanks to God, our Savior, who takes on our burdens every day. Give those words time to sink in. You are not alone in bearing this burden. The Lord Himself is lifting what you are unable to do each morning when you awaken before you have even risen. That's why you haven't fallen apart entirely. That's why you get back up even when you're your lowest. Your weariness is not a sign of failure. It indicates that you are in harmony with the activity of heaven. Although the world may advise you to ignore it, run away from it, and be like everyone else, you are not everyone else. You're a fire. Oil is consumed by a flame. Furthermore, it is not dying when it flickers down. It is indicating that new oil is needed. Your burden is holy, chosen one. It is your spirit's expanding sound. The task from heaven is echoing throughout your being. Even if you know the reality, others may not comprehend why you seem exhausted despite your lack of activity. They cannot see the conflicts you fight. You bear burdens they are unable to identify. Now, don't let this be a casual time. Openly admit whether these remarks closely relate to your circumstance. To ensure that the messages keep becoming stronger for you and others like you, like, share, and subscribe. As a prophetic proclamation that you will experience divine fulfillment, rest, and fresh vigor for the trip ahead, put the number 777 in the comments section. You may feel worn out, but it doesn't mean you're defeated. You have been selected, you've been crowned, and you are still carried by heaven. Nevertheless, there is one thing you need to keep in mind, selected one. Your fatigue is not the end of the story. God is subtly strengthening your endurance, even while your shoulders sag with the invisible burden. Consider an athlete. Resistance is the only way for muscles to become stronger. If you want to claim this message, you can show your support by paying a super thanks amount of up to $20 and typing 1111. The strain on your second spirit is more than you believed you could handle. Don't hate this time of year. Your heart is learning the language of patience despite the weight of your eyes. Every groan turns into a prayer. Each tear turns into a seed. And every moment of exhaustion turns into a story that has to be recounted. You are developing into a person who can rise while others fail. Take a minute to raise your eyes. Imagine yourself as a warrior honing their blade in the silence, rather as a tired traveler. Even if you seem worn out, there is still a fire burning within of you. It is sufficient to illuminate valleys where others have become disoriented. Hold on then. Despite the weight of your crown, your triumph will be magnificent. And in bigger waves than before, the vigor that seems to have vanished will return. Selected one. Your weariness stems from both the unseen struggles that surround your life and the crown you wear. The conflict of forces may not be visible to you, but every blow is felt by your spirit. Spiritual warfare is real and causes physical scarring, both the soul and the intellect. For this reason, even after accomplishing nothing particularly noteworthy, you often feel exhausted. Light and darkness battle it out every day. If you want to claim this message, you can show your support by paying a super thanks amount of up to $20 and typing 1111. Because of the calling that has been put inside you, the adversary has identified you as a target. Your destiny cannot be stolen by him. He therefore attempts to wear you out till you are silent. When you wake up feeling heavy for no apparent reason. Sometimes, despite getting enough sleep, your thinking seems cloudy. When despondency appears without apparent cause. These are remnants of invisible conflict. Picture yourself standing between two rivers, one of clean streams and another of contaminated ones, both putting pressure on your body. You feel the current's power tugging at you even if you can't see it. That is the experience of living as one distinct being. The darkness presses, heaven endures, and your soul endures the strain. Another selected one, a young guy, used to feel exhausted all the time. His pals believed he was indolent. His relatives believed he was irresponsible. However, he was secretly struggling in prayer. The weight in his chest would seem like chains attempting to strangle him at night. Later, he realized that his fatigue was not a sign of weakness. It was combat. He discovered that the weariness was relieved by submission rather than by getting more sleep when he leaned completely into God's presence. The same is true for you. Your struggles are genuine, even if they aren't always apparent. You are battling every time you battle temptation, every time you fight hopelessness, and every time you hold on to God rather than give up. It makes sense why you feel so exhausted. But keep in mind that fatigue in combat does not equate to failure. It's evidence that you're still alive. In the Epistle to the Ephesians, the apostle writes in verse 16 of chapter 3, I hope that he would use his magnificent wealth to give you strength in your inner self via his Spirit. Let that fact serve as your compass. There are times when natural factors cannot account for your fatigue. You're not just exhausted. You're fighting a war. War requires energy, yet you are not left helpless as warriors on earth are. Though invisible, your armor is impregnable. Imagine that you are a lighthouse amid a storm. The light must continue to shine despite the howling winds and crashing surf. The lighthouse's strength is not shown by the storm. It is evidence that it is a significant object. The storm would not roar so ferociously around you if you were not a menace to darkness. Learn to identify when you feel exhausted without cause, chosen one. If you want to claim this message, you can show your support by paying a super thanks amount of up to $20 and typing 1111. Is this fatigue a result of natural limits? Or is it a holdover from spiritual combat? Having discernment will keep you from giving up. It will serve as a reminder that you are more than just exhausted. You matter, which is why you are being attacked. Keep this in mind. Despite your weariness, you are surrounded by grace. You are never battling by yourself. Heaven sees your sighs as a call for strength, even if you fall in prayer without saying a word. Strength also always arrives. Your fatigue isn't arbitrary. It serves as a reminder that you're engaged in a conflict over your fate. Additionally, even though you may feel exhausted, the win has already been assured. This very exhaustion, however, is also a teacher. It demonstrates to you where God's power must start and where your own strength stops. You may never understand the need of His Spirit inside you if you never experience the struggle. Being exhausted is a holy secret. Fatigue has the ability to erode ego, dispel illusions, and leave you with nothing but your unadulterated honesty in front of God. And heaven bursts in with such candor. Imagine a soldier who believes all is gone as he collapses on the battlefield. Then reinforcements show up, however, right on time, not late. That soldier rises because he is no longer battling alone, not because of his own might. God comes to you in this way. Your fatigue serves as a gateway to new strength. His Spirit is what gives you strength while your body is weak. The area where your thoughts stall turns into the area where his knowledge leads. The battle does not desert you. They're standing up for you. Therefore, don't hate the evenings when you feel empty. Heaven is nearest at these sacred times. The conflict is intense. Yes, but you have support when you battle. Selected 1. You bear the responsibilities of others, which is one of the covert reasons you feel exhausted. You have a unique heart. It is programmed to detect pain that most people overlook. This explains why you may feel depressed at times, even when nothing in your life seems to be amiss. Like a sponge, your soul absorbs the sorrow, bewilderment, and terror of others around you. Why do I weep when no one else does, you ask? Why is it that while everyone else looks fine in a room, I become restless? Your soul is tuned to the frequency of sorrow, which is why God created you in this manner to give you the ministry of intercession, not to punish you. Imagine yourself like a tree that the seas have planted. Your branches provide cover for birds. Under your foliage, travelers find shade, but you bear the burden of holding them when they're sleeping. Many people use your strength without even realizing you are their cover. If you want to claim this message, you can show your support by paying a super thanks amount of up to $20 and typing 1111. One young lady, another chosen one, I recall, would often leave events feeling totally empty. She headed home with a sorrowful heart, but everyone else appeared enthusiastic. She then learned that she had been gifted with insight by God. She was carrying weights that people were unaware they carried while quietly battling for them in prayer. It seemed unjust at first, but after reading the book of Galatians, she realized that heaven had trusted her with secret missions. Verse 2 of chapter 6. You will fulfill the law of Christ if you bear each other's burdens. This verse explains why you're tired. Without recognizing it, you are obeying the law of Christ. Although your compassion is expensive, it has great power. When you lift someone else's load in prayer, you create space for their breakthrough. But pay close attention to this. You're not supposed to bear everything by yourself. Sharing responsibilities is not the same as taking ownership of them. At Jesus' feet, you must learn to put down what is not yours. Otherwise, you will be crushed by the weight. Interceding, not imploding, is your calling. Consider one candle that illuminates another. It retains its own fire while giving forth flame. You're supposed to live that way, carrying light without losing it. You have to keep going back to the source in order to do it. I'm asking you now, chosen one, to recognize what's going on inside of you. Don't ignore this moment. Put these terms in the comments section. I wrote them down and lay down. You proclaim that the burden that was never intended to be on your shoulders is no longer there. He has no boundaries, but you are powerful. Put it down and allow him to carry what you are unable to. You have been selected to heal in addition to feeling. And you will when you release what is not yours. You're not admitting weakness when you decide to say, I lay down. Freedom is what you're announcing. To put something down is to acknowledge that it is not yours. The transfer is spiritual. The one carrying the cosmos now bears the weight that formerly strained your back. For this reason, giving up is a triumph rather than a failure. Consider a marathon runner. They will pass out before the finish line if they attempt to carry more weights in their arms. However, lowering those weights causes their breathing to steady, their speed to increase, and their spiritual objective to get closer. That runner is you. You may continue on your path to the crown that awaits you by laying down what is not yours. This act has therapeutic benefits as well. Many chosen ones bear the burdens of past traumas, familial suffering, communal grief, and generational burdens in addition to their present difficulties. Weight is added with each layer until standing becomes difficult. You interrupt cycles that attempted to flow through you by putting it down. You transform into a vessel of peace and cease to be a vessel of suffering. And keep in mind that you are not deserting people when you give up obligations. Some selected ones are reluctant to let go because they think it will indicate they have lost interest. However, caring does not equate to carrying. True love entrusts people to God's care, prays for them, and supports them. Because you're no longer crushed beneath the weight, you really love more completely when you allow him to carry what is too heavy. So, make this your proclamation. You are not the savior of the world. By giving up what is not yours, you are serving the Savior. At last, you may carry what really is: truth, light, and the splendor of God's mission. Selected 1. The fact that your light reveals darkness is another factor contributing to your weariness. No matter where you travel, the environment changes, even if you don't always perceive it. Sometimes people get uneasy for no apparent reason. When you get there, everything seems strained. It's not because of anything you did wrong. It's because there is light in your very being. And in the presence of light, darkness cannot stay at peace. Energy is used up in this ongoing conflict. Light is never inactive. It constantly questions what lurks in the shadows. In the same way as a torch consumes fuel to remain lit, your spirit radiates truth and consumes power. This explains why you may feel exhausted after having a certain talk or visiting a particular place. You may awaken things that others would want to remain slumber, guide consciousness, and undermine covert goals without using words. Imagine a lighthouse on a raging seashore. Ships rely on it. The lighthouse, however, never stops glowing. Its base was pounded by waves. It sparkles despite the howling winds surrounding its tower. In the same manner, even while storms are raging, your purpose is to show the way. You become fatigued from that brilliance. But it saves lives too. I remember the tale of a guy who was always uncomfortable at his place of employment. His co-workers shunned him. His efforts were met with unusual opposition and swirling gossip. He first believed it to be a personal grievance. He discovered later that it was spiritual. Hearts that want to stay in compromise were convinced by his presence. He wasn't attempting to seem morally upright to others. He only embodied the light of God. Darkness responded when that light revealed dishonesty. The everyday weariness he experienced was a result of shining in an environment where corruption flourished. In the first chapter, John's writings serve as a reminder. In verse 5, the darkness cannot defeat the light that shines in it. While this line is truth as well as poetry, shining where shadows oppose you is the source of your fatigue. But keep in mind that darkness cannot prevail. It is not stated in the text that the light may triumph. Has not overcome, it states, you will win. Consider yourself a mirror confronting the sun, even if the struggle wears you out. There is no light coming from the mirror itself. It does, however, reflect what it gets. The reflection is strong when the mirror is clean. However, every reflection indicates the exchange of energy. You are that mirror that allows God's presence to be seen in areas that are otherwise obscured. The burden of carrying reflection is what makes you feel heavy. You may encounter resistance from those you're trying to assist. Emotional exhaustion results from such resistance. Being the one who recognizes the truth, while others do not, may be isolating. However, this loneliness is not a sign of desertion. It is proof of calling. Throughout history, prophets were aware of this weight. They sent indications that disturbed countries sense the strain of persistent resistance. You too are descended from that family. What your soul sees is processed by your body and intellect. You can feel the vibrations as the darkness shifts. You feel the pull as the atmosphere changes. Being sensitive is not a bad thing. It's a present. However, as with all presents, stewardship is required. In order to recharge after shining, you must learn to often withdraw into God's presence. The lamp has to be put back in the oil container. The warrior has to get back to the castle. Selected 1. After interactions, if you feel an odd weight, acknowledge it for what it is. It's not just any old tiredness. It's the cost of being seen. What was hidden was shaken by your light. Conviction was transported into the invisible by your presence. The energy used is sacred and not a waste. Weariness is not a sign of weakness. Actually, it is proof that you pose a threat to the dark. For those who shine when others fade, exhaustion may be an honor. The flame will not go out, even if it seems brittle. There is a force considerably stronger than yourself that keeps you. Thus, keep this awareness in mind. Your fatigue is often the result of silent conflicts. However, heaven already sings a victory song over you, and every sigh is a part of it. And the light inside of you doesn't go out, chosen one. Because it is not yours, the flame endures even when you feel weak. He owns it. Under strain, your soul may bend, but it never breaks. More light can only leak out of the gaps, penetrating further into the surrounding darkness. The machinations of darkness are disrupted by every tired stride you take. What you perceive as fatigue is really a sign of impact. So continue, even if you're exhausted, since your mere being proclaims that the morning cannot be silenced by the darkness. Selected 1. Isolation is another factor contributing to your fatigue. You stand out. Loneliness follows that separation. There are times when you think nobody, not even your closest friends and family, really gets you. You don't know how much energy this feeling of difference takes away from you, because human beings were made to connect. However, following the road of the chosen often resembles traversing a wilderness alone. Being alone is more than just not having others around. It's the pain of not being noticed. Because no one understands the depth of what you bear, you might feel alone even when there are many people around you. It's like wearing a rucksack full of invisible stones because of that underlying pain. It seems like every step is heavier. You bear a burden no one else understands, not because the path is more difficult. Such a season was previously experienced by a young chosen one. She always felt as if she was looking in through a window rather than at the table while her pals laughed together, exchanged secrets, and made plans. For a long time, she wondered, why am I different? Why can't I belong? It was only later she realized her wilderness was preparation. In silence, she learned to hear God's whispers. In isolation, she discovered strength that companionship could never provide. The writings of Joshua remind us in the first chapter, verse 9, be strong and courageous. Don't be scared. Do not give up, because wherever you go, the Lord, your God, will be with you. Now, even in the loneliness that wears you down, this is your mooring. You're never left behind. Courage thrives on the soil of loneliness's tiredness. Consider a candle in a pitch-black space. The shadows enclose it as it burns by itself. However, its flame becomes your life's only source of light. Walking by yourself may really wear you out, but it also makes your special mission clear. The purpose of your light is to stand out in a crowd. It is intended to be noticeable at night. Let me now address you directly. The area where these remarks are spoken is comparable to a table where several selected individuals congregate, persons who are dispersed over different countries. Everyone who chooses to give keeps this table alive, and the meeting is bound together by the Spirit. If these words have ever given you support, encouragement, think about how you might maintain the flame for others who are in dire need of light, as well as for yourself. Imagine it like filling a lantern with oil. The bulb is already bright. However, your oil will continue to burn brighter, longer, and further. I kindly ask that you like, share, and subscribe because of this. As a result, more people who feel alone as you do are reached by this flow of truth. Additionally, if you're moved, you might give as a selfless act of love rather than as a duty. This is not a transaction when you provide. It's like sowing a seed. It's similar like adding another wood to the fire so that everyone gathered around it can stay warm. There's never any strain on you. This isn't a must. It's just an opportunity. You now have the opportunity to assist in carrying this assignment for another tired chosen one who has not yet found this table, just as someone previously bore a load for you. Your assistance is like putting more stones on a bridge. Another journey from despair to hope is made possible by each stone. Your contribution, which is willingly given so that the next soul may drink and survive, is like filling a traveler's cup in the desert. Additionally, keep in mind that your kindness is appreciated. Every seed, every sharing, and every encouraging word are seen by heaven. Since you are providing not only words, but also life, everything you provide multiplies beyond measurement. Thus, follow your heart. Support this mission as generously as you have been given if you are moved. It counts even if all you can do is like, share, or provide some words of support. If you're moved to make a monetary donation, know that it is valued as fuel for the fire in all its manifestations. What you offer is chosen, voluntary, and the result of love rather than coercion. You can feel exhausted from loneliness. However, This connection serves as a reminder that you are not really alone. We hold up the light together. We maintain the flame together. Together, we also serve as a reminder that darkness cannot prevail, and your heart will rest in this common flame. Since each spark you add combines with another, the darkness itself eventually starts to vanish. You're not left behind. Selected one. A larger fire that will never go out includes your light. Selected one. The adversary is fighting against your sleep, which is another reason you're exhausted. You may observe how often you are unable to fall asleep, how unsettling dreams may be, how your days seem shorter than your nights. It's more than just sleeplessness. Interference is what it is. The enemy is aware that he can touch your strength if he can touch your slumber. Sleep is just one aspect of rest. It has to do with the soul finding tranquility. If your spirit is being attacked, you may lay down for hours and yet wake up exhausted. This explains why you wake up feeling heavy rather than refreshed. Why, when there is nothing physically wrong, does your heart beat at night? The reason for this is because the selected one's battlefield remains open after nightfall. Imagine a stronghold that has to remain under guard when the sun sets. On the wall, soldiers alternate positions, eyes looking beyond the horizon. That's your life. Even when your body aches for sleep, your soul remains awake. Although holy, this vigilance comes at a price. When dawn comes, you're exhausted. I remember a young guy who had a similar phase. He woke up at the same time every night, terrified and restless. Before realizing that God was calling him to prayer while the adversary was attempting to drown him in fear, he believed it to be a coincidence. The mood shattered when he changed his reaction, rising to worship rather than fret. Training replaced what had seemed like torture. His fatigue turned into evidence. The book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 24, is where God's message is spoken. You won't feel scared when you lay down. Your sleep will be lovely when you lay down. This pledge is also for you. Sleep shouldn't be taken from you. It's supposed to be sweet. It is not intended to disturb your sleep. Its purpose is to repair. However, you must learn to ground yourself in this word while the adversary battles against your evenings. Before going to bed, say it out loud. Declare it to be a veil over your space, your thoughts, and your aspirations. Consider a garden where, at night, the petals of the flowers shut, relying on the return of the morning light. Rest is supposed to be like that. A profound faith in the coming of tomorrow. That even when you relinquish control, God still holds you. In order to persuade you that you must remain awake and bear the burden that God has already pledged to bear, the adversary tries to undermine your confidence. Therefore, your fatigue is not a sign of weakness, but rather a testament to the need of rest. What else might explain the ferocity of the attack? Your dreams themselves are powerful, as seen by the nights you spend awake in combat. God gives you strength, shows visions, and whispers strategies while you sleep. It seems sense that darkness would wish to cut it short. What then do you do? Selected one. The way a soldier defends a castle is how you learn to protect your rest. Before you go to sleep, worship, pray to release burdens. Ask the Spirit to wrap itself around you. Transform your evenings into an altar of fellowship rather than a battleground of terror. Let this go beyond just words on paper. Put an act on it to seal it. Write 333 in the comments. This is more than simply a figure. It is a pronouncement of prophecy. 3 threes. A reminder that the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are all fully whole, perfectly united, and perfectly all around you. By writing it, you are saying, my nights are guarded. My rest is restored. My dreams are safe. Chosen one, you will not always wake tired. Sweet sleep will return. Strength will rise. The very place of your exhaustion will become the place of your renewal. For the one who never sleeps watches over you. Chosen one. When you declare 333, you are not simply typing numbers. You are aligning yourself with heaven's order. The repetition of 3 is not coincidence. It is a reminder that you are shielded on every side by the fullness of God's nature. Where one strand might break, 3 cords woven together will not easily snap. Your dreams are more than random pictures. They are often messages, warnings, or confirmations. When the enemy tries to distort them with fear, it is because he knows their power. But when you surrender your nights to the Trinity, you are covering the gateway of your spirit with divine authority. Think of a house locked with 3 doors. A thief may try the first, fail at the second, and grow weary at the third. That is how the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit surround you at night, layer upon layer of protection. You're not defenseless. You're fortified. So rest with confidence. What once felt like the most vulnerable part of your life, your sleep will become one of your greatest sources of strength. Chosen one, another reason your spirit feels weary is because you're walking through a season of pruning. This is not punishment, but preparation. God is removing from your life what cannot travel with you into the next chapter. The process is sacred, yet it feels exhausting because pruning always cuts. It strips away attachments, routines, and relationships that once felt safe. Think of a vine in a vineyard to the untrained eye. Cutting back branch looked destructive. Why remove something that already bears leaves? But the gardener knows if the vine is not pruned, the fruit will be small and weak. Only through pruning does the vine redirect its energy to produce fruit that lasts. In the same way, your tiredness comes from this holy redirection. Energy is being pulled away from what is fading, so it can be stored for what is eternal. This explains why you may feel drained even when nothing dramatic is happening in your life. It is the silent work of heaven trimming your branches. Friendships fall silent. Doors close. Opportunities slip away not because you failed, but because God is shaping your path. The weight of letting go is tiring, yet the fatigue is proof of transformation. I remember the story of a man who prayed for growth. Soon after he lost a job, he thought he would retire and several friends drifted away. At first he thought he was cursed, but later he realized God had cut away what was holding him back. Out of that painful pruning came clarity, new relationships, and a calling he would never have discovered otherwise. His exhaustion during that season was real, but it was also purposeful. We are reminded in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 11. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, bit painful later on. However, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. End quote. These are the right words for your time of year. Cultivation is what seems to be depletion. Pruning pain is not in vain. It shapes the fruit of your future. Think about the tree that flourishes during storms as well. It may seem feeble and dead if the wind strips its branches bare. However, its roots are reaching deeper into the ground in an effort to get water. The same tree emerges stronger than ever in the spring. That tree is you. Your fatigue is not a conclusion. It is a strengthening that takes place underground. Pruning challenges your identity as well. You could wonder, who am I if I lose this job, this person, this comfort? The question itself is sacred because it forces you to face the reality that what is taken away does not define who you are. However, clinging to what is going away causes weariness in the one holding the shears. When you put it in his hands, renewal occurs. Don't hate this tired time of year. It is evidence that God has enough faith in you to develop you. Only the branches that have the potential to bear additional fruit are trimmed. Your sense of being cut is proof that you were selected for a raise. Imagine someone seeing a sculptor cutting marble. It seems to be violent, dust rising, chunks of stone cracking. However, each blow is deliberate. The sculptor can already glimpse the hidden masterpiece. That stone is your life. The picture of grandeur that God already sees is being shaped by each exhausting blow you take. So take solace in this fact. You have a reason for pruning. Your sense of tiredness is a sign of preparedness rather than failure. Even if you're exhausted right now, you won't stay that way. You will soon bear fresh fruit, gain new vigor, and reflect gratefully on this season, understanding that each cut was a step toward your future. Your fatigue is the whisper of change, chosen one. Remind yourself that you are being developed rather than dismissed, and the remaining fruit will be carried by your spirit when the pruning is finished. And no darkness can take away the strength with which your light shines. Selected one. Birth pains of development are what you see as weakness. Your old habits must change for new life to emerge, just as the soil must change for a seed to grow. Although the shattering hurts, it is sacred. The power you believed you had lost will soon return, except this time it will be stronger. When you see the results of this pruning, peace, clarity, and a stronger faith, you'll know that the fatigue was worthwhile, because you're left empty by nothing that God takes away. He always substitutes what gives life eternally. Hold steadfast this season, chosen one. In reality, every cut that seems like a loss creates space for plenty. Your current vulnerability is merely a short-term one. Your spirit's roots are becoming stronger, ready to produce fruit that will withstand adversity and shine with enduring splendor. Selected one, the unresolved healing task that remains in your soul is another cause of your fatigue. An injury from the past. Even the people you believe to be dead still reverberate in your soul. Like lengthy shadows at sunset, they appear out of nowhere to remind you that things haven't been resolved yet. Pain that hasn't been healed weighs you down over time. There is pain. Being unhealed is like to carrying a cracked jar. Regardless of how much new water you add, it gradually seeps away, leaving you empty once again. That's why you feel exhausted most of the time. If the fractures are not repaired, your soul will not be able to retain the fullness of strength, even after periods of delight or rejuvenation. Many selected ones go on without tending to their injuries. They tell themselves that the agony will go away with time, that being busy would divert their attention, or that stillness will ease the suffering. Yet silence is not a cure. Avoidance doesn't make things better. Instead, like a steady leak in the background of your life, the agony lurks deep within and drains your vitality every day. I remember the tale of a lady who served with loyalty, never stopped grinning, and never stopped lending a helping hand to others.